And now, live from Smoke on the Water in Greenville's West End, here is Straight Up with Sturge with Mark Sturgis.
All right, welcome back in, 8:25 on this Thursday night edition of Straight Up with Sturge, and I am so happy to click on the button to put on the air our next guest, the color coordinator, the color analyst for the Maryland Football Radio Network, one Tim Strachan, one I left hanging out to dry last night by us calling your wrong number, and I certainly apologize, and I appreciate you being so gracious to join us tonight, Tim, and
it's a pleasure.
You know
Mark.
what?
It really is. I tell you what, though, I was listening to the commercials. Nobody but Maryland could use PlaySafe more than Maryland right now.
All right, you opened it up. I'm going to go ahead and drive it through. When I got y'all's football injury report today, 24 names on this list, including 9 lost for the season. Another, I think, 12 out for the Clemson game. And obviously, C.J. Brown, it was announced earlier today, he's going to be out. Caleb Rowe's going to be starting. Do you think you might want to start putting something else in the water jug up there after what took place at quarterback last year and now what's taking place at linebacker and wide receiver this year?
It's unbelievable. I don't know if words can describe it. You can't write this if you're the best writer in the world. I mean, it's like we're snake bitten or something. I mean, you and I have talked about the fact that I'm a wheelchair user, and on my way back from the Florida State debacle, the airline dropped my wheelchair and totaled it. I mean, it's wrong everywhere you look in the state of Maryland right now when it comes to the football program and anybody who's associated with the football team. It just, you can't even describe exactly what's going on. Other guys you didn't mention, the starting tailback, Brandon Ross is out, the starting tight end. Steinbauer is out. 2 starting cornerbacks are gone right now, one for the season, and Dexter McDougal, the other one, Jeremiah Johnson, who has a foot injury and probably won't be back for another 2-3 weeks, if that. I mean, it's unbelievable and unprecedented what is going on in the last 2 years. And even if we didn't have last year, we'd still be talking about how unprecedented this injury list is for Maryland.
Well, what do you think the mindset, the mental makeup of this team's going to be coming off I don't know if you call it humbling 34-10 loss at Wake Forest. I think that maybe the most humbling thing that I read up on the game was the fact that Maryland had to exit the field due to chants of ACC by Wake Forest fans. Yep. But what's the mindset of this Maryland team at this point after a bad loss last week and then, again, 24 names on the injury report this week?
Well, first of all, you talk about how they chanted ACC. Whatever happened to Southern hospitality, Mark? But no.
When you get taunted at Wake, that's bad.
That's pretty bad. But here's the thing, and I may sound like a homer in talking about this, but the one thing I think Randy Edsel and this coaching staff has done a great job of in their 3 years, and especially this year, is getting these kids focused on what needs to happen. And the attitude around the football program and the players has never been higher in about 5 or 6 years, in my opinion. And I'm around these kids all the time. I go out there once or a week at least. I'm around them. I talk with coaches. And it does seem like they have this mentality that they understand what needs to be done. They feel bad for their teammates that are hurt. But they also know that the next man up mantra is the way you have to go, and you have to move on, and the guy that steps in has to pick up where the other guy left off. And Coach has been hammering that home. He had a special team meeting yesterday to address the players on the injury report itself, and he says, look, no one's going to feel sorry for you, especially Clemson. So you guys got to go out there and try to get the job done the best you can. Play every game the best you can. Give it the best shot. Give it your best effort. You never know what's going to happen. That's what's so great about the game of football. You know, on paper, it's all good and well, and people can have point spreads and things of that nature, but once you kick off the ball, that's why you do it. You never know what's going to happen if you stick together. You know, good things can happen, but it certainly is a tall mountain for Maryland to climb right now.
You know, and you're going to be going into Saturday's 3:30 matchup with Caleb Rowe, a person that we're very familiar with here in the Upstate, as he played high school football right up the road at Blue Ridge High School. When we talked yesterday, before I blew you off last night, Tim, you were talking about how impressed you are with this guy, and I take you at face value because as I talked a little bit last night with our listeners, is when you were coming out of high school in 1993, you were listed as the third highest quarterback recruit in the country. You had committed to Penn State before your accident. And you said there's a lot of attributes that you see in Caleb Rowe that reminded you of yourself when you played quarterback at DeMatha back in the day.
Yeah, he's got a moxie to him. He's got a confidence, that borderline, confident, cocky. I think he just feels like he's capable of going out there and getting the job done. And even when he goes out and he makes some bad throws, he's able to put them behind him because he knows he's got another chance. I think he's used to, when he was in high school, throwing the ball quite a bit. Threw the ball, 25, 30 times a game in high school, if not more. So he has that mindset to not let things rattle him. He even had a quote today in the paper about, he seems a lot more calm this year than he did even last year. It's a game. And when you really look at it and you sit back, that's all it really is a game. It's not that important. Mm-hmm. And you go out, you're supposed to have fun. You're not supposed to take it too seriously. And I think that's the kind of mindset that's going to allow him to be successful. Whether it's going to be Saturday or not, I don't know. But I've been high on this kid ever since I've seen him come in last year against NC State and that last minute and almost pull out a win. And then the way he played at Boston College and the 2 times or 3 times he's got some time this year. I just like the way he plays. I think he approaches the game right, and he's got very good tools. And as long as he gets the experience, he's going to be a pretty good football player.
We're talking with Tim Strachan, the color analyst for the Maryland Football Radio Network, works with the infamous Johnny Holiday, and I don't know how you could. I'm just sitting here thinking of the movie The Three Amigos. What's infamous mean? More than famous, and that's about the way it comes with Johnny Holiday as your play-by-play guy, Tim. But all right, we talked about the mindset of the Maryland football team dealing with all these injuries. What about the Maryland fan base? Where are they at right now? Because, it's kind of a lost year in the fact it's the final year in the ACC before you move to the Big Ten. We've seen some attendance issues the last couple of years. Do you expect much fight out of the Maryland crowd on Saturday as Clemson makes their last appearance at Byrd Stadium as a member of the ACC?
Well, this is where sometimes I get in trouble with the Maryland fan base myself, and that it's really split. You got a group of people who didn't like Randy Edsall's hire from the get-go. They wanted Mike Leach, and he wasn't the guy they wanted from the start. And then he comes in here. He doesn't deal with the media very well. They thought he was throwing Ralph Friesen under the bus from the former regime. And those people are going to be diehard against Randy no matter what happens. And then you see another faction, and really this is growing, I think, a little bit more because they can see that Maryland has progressed. It may not be at the pace that they'd like to see it, but they have seen improvement. They've seen the fact that these kids keep fighting and they keep playing hard, and they're showing some improvement. And there is a swell of support around this team and around what Coach Edsall's starting to put together. But you're never going to really get a whole lot of Maryland fans out to Maryland games unless it's a special season. Living in a metropolitan area like we do and having Maryland so close, the University of Maryland so close to Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, there's so many other things to compete with in this area that, a family's going to spend their $300 to $500, whatever it might be, including tickets, food, adult beverages, all the stuff that it takes to spend a day watching a college football game on something else. And unless the product on the field is something that they feel is worth going to. And Maryland's not going to get that support in person at the stadium unless it's one of those seasons where they can, pretty much guarantee there's going to be a great product. Now, with all these injuries, the way things have gone here in the last few weeks, it might not be the biggest crowd out there, although it is homecoming weekend, and you hope that that's going to draw a lot of people. And I know that Clemson's going to bring their fan base, so you don't know. You really don't know what the crowd's going to be like. It may be a factor early on, but if things get out of hand early, they're going to go find something else to do.
Oh, God. I mean, no offense. We saw that in Death Valley Saturday night about midway through the second quarter, if not earlier. I mean, it was kind of rough. All right, I'm going to ask you one more football-related question before we I'm going to give you the opportunity on the way out for something else. Give our listeners somebody or one or two players, however you want, that they may not know about on this Maryland football team. We've talked about Caleb at quarterback. Who's somebody that's going to catch the eye of Clemson fan at 3:30 to 7 o'clock on Saturday that they may not be aware of?
Well, on the offensive side, I'm going to give you two. On the offensive side of the ball, there's a guy named Laverne Jacobs, who's going to step into the shoes of Stephon Diggs, who was one of the top two receivers who broke his leg last week. And Laverne caught my eye 2 springs ago. He was probably the MVP of the spring game. He also has his brother Tavon Jacobs, the really highly recruited wide receiver that turned down Ohio State to come to Maryland. But this young man has the speed, the talent, and everything it takes to be, a very good wide receiver at this level. The reason you haven't heard much about him is because you got a guy named Stephon Diggs ahead of him. If Stephon had never come to Maryland, Laverne Jacobs would be the guy that people would be talking about, and I have no problem saying that. Now, this kid really is a very good football player, and given the opportunity, I think he's going to shine. He had the 56-yard touchdown last week that Caleb Rowe threw in that third quarter, trying to spark the team back against Wake Forest. Now, on the defensive side of the ball, he's little, but he plays big. He's 5'7". His name's William Likely. He's the cornerback from Belgrade, Florida. This kid is just an unbelievable athlete. He's all over the place in terms of tackles. He's done a great job in coverage, although Michael Campanaro and him had a very tough battle last week. And I think Michael Campanaro kind of got the best of him at the end of the game. And hats off to that young man. He's such a great football player. But Will also returns punts, returns kicks, and he's a true freshman. And that goes to show you how important it was for him to make the commitment to come up here from Florida to be a part of this football team, because he has contributed ever since those two cornerbacks, those starting cornerbacks, Dexter McDougal and Jeremiah Johnson, went down. He's going to be a really important factor, and he could be somebody that has a really big game on Saturday.
All right, now I'm going to bring the room down for a second like I'm up on stage performing like a band. Listen, yesterday the show before me, hosted by Walt Deptula, after a couple of weeks of putting it together, they did a virtual toy drive and a pizza and ice cream party at the 6th floor at Greenville Health System for the children's cancer patients. It was awesome. As a station, we raised over $30,000 for these kids yesterday. Tonight, here at Smoke on the Water, where I broadcast, there's a charity event called Let There Be Mom, where they're taking there's a portion of the proceeds from each meal is to put a scrapbook together for kids whose parents are unfortunately dying of cancer, so they'll have something to remember it by. So it's been kind of a emotional week with children's cancer and things like that. That being said, your story of going from the 3rd highest quarterback recruit in the country to breaking your neck and everything that you've had to deal with. And you mentioned 2 weeks ago that one certain airline did you wrong in dropping your wheelchair, and it's been a frustrating couple of weeks, and it's going to remain that way. What message? This is your opportunity for a message. I told my wife this morning when I got up, I said, if you see me harping in the next 7 weeks while Tim's going through this, slap me upside the head. My life's not too bad. What message? You do a lot of motivational speaking. Give our listeners a message out of Tim Strachan's mind and in the bright side of your mind, not the dark side of your mind, Tim.
Well, the thing is in life, we all have a cross to bear. We all are going to find difficult times, difficult challenges, and we're going to be faced with adversity in our life. For some people, it's going to be cancer. For some people, it might be a spinal cord injury. For other people, it might not seem that dire or that big. But whatever your cross is, whatever the adversity is that you're faced with, we all go through it. The thing is that life is not going to stop for us. Life continues to go on. You have to find the right attitude. You have to find the right plan. Belief in God and faith and all those types of things play an important factor. But you just got to keep getting up every day, and greet the day as best you can and say, today I'm going to do the most I can to overcome my adversity, to enjoy my life, because life is so short. And you can't let anything really bring you down. And it's a lot of it is about attitude. Attitude's so important in everything we do. I mean, it's important in football. It's important in life. And attitude can really put you in the right direction. And as long as you can find reasons to laugh, you can find reasons to continue on, nothing should get in your way, no matter how hard or how difficult it might be. And I tell people all the time, life's too short. You got to enjoy life. And as far as I'm concerned, not being able to play football, not being able to walk again, or any challenge that I might have isn't going to get in my way of enjoying my journey in life. And I hope everybody kind of, sticks to that kind of mantra and that kind of message.
Yeah, and listen, thank you not only for being my friend, but words like that, because it helped keep things in perspective. You got a wonderful wife. You got great kids. You got a great support system there at the University of Maryland with Johnny Holiday with play-by-play. And like I told you, to get you through these next 6 weeks, if I could, I would get up to D.C. and I would personally drive you wherever you need to go, because I know you keep me entertained between point A and point B. And, Tim, thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for your message. And in general, over there, thank you for your friendship.
And let me just say real quick before you go and I get off, Clemson is easily going to be the team that I'm going to miss the most, the place I'm going to miss the most going to. I've made so many good friends like you and Patrick Sapp and on down the line. It's the only place in the last latter part of the 18 years I've been doing radio where I still tailgate after games, and I've made so many good friendships. You guys know how to do football down there, and I'm going to miss it. And I hope that, even though we're out of the ACC, I'll find my way down there. My cousin went there, and I'm going to miss it. So I'm hoping someday I'm going to get back down there, and I've appreciated everything from you guys. We're going to miss you all.
All right, Tim, have a good call Saturday. Just don't have too good of a call, okay?
It's good. I think Clemson's going to make it difficult, but we'll see. Thanks a lot, Mark.
All right, Tim Strachan, the color analyst of the Maryland Football Radio Network. And I challenge you guys. I don't give y'all homework assignments. Every once in a while, back in the day, if you remember, JJ would call in and give me a homework assignment, and I'd work on it for a couple of days, and he'd call back in. If you want to get it right in life, just go Google and type in Tim Strachan, Strachan. A plethora of information about what this guy has gone through. And is going through right now one of the most challenging points in his life thanks to an airline. And you just heard his message right there. He's going to be in the box at Maryland on Saturday, not giving up. Hey, listen, that's what it's all about, day in, day out. All right, off the break we go. Phone lines are open in the final segment. On the other side, here on Straight Up with Sturge on Talk Sports 104.9 FM.